Hello, and welcome to another episode of the special guest series. This is Alex Muir, your host of the MindCep Podcast, helping you maximize your performance. And in today's episode, we're going to be speaking with Empress. Empress is a singer, songwriter, musician, orchestrator, or composer, and a previous ex-ballerina. And please welcome Empress to the podcast. And this episode is brought to you by RadioGuestList.com, the #1 free radio guest, podcast, and talk show guest expert interview booking service on the internet. Yeah, and just your whole aura is very artistic expression, and you got quite the dynamic background going from. So most of your career is a ballerina. And you were in the San Francisco Ballet. You've been all over the world, and dancing and ballerina, and then you transition to music as of late, or if you always kind of been in in the music scene, or did you do that kind of ballet and then a little bit of music?
I was kind of a closeted musician forever. I started writing music when I was really, really little. I mean, I was 4 years old, and my grandmother gave us a piano, and nobody in my family knew how to play. I was the oldest, so I was I think I had my little brother was 1, but so I started making up songs on the piano because I didn't know how to play, but I had a really good ear for music. So for my mom's birthday one year, I surprised her by learning how to play Happy Birthday, and I basically taught myself how to do it by my ear, and I sang it out, and she was so shocked. I thought she was angry at me. She said, "Who taught you how to play that?" And I started crying because I was like, "I'm sorry, nobody taught me how to play it. I just taught myself." She goes, No, it's really good. I'm going to get you lessons. This is incredible, And so I started making up music. And I had this Mary Poppins teacher who was fantastic with kids. Like, she made it just so much fun to learn how to play piano. So I was really, really into music, and I was very intuitive with music. I could listen to music, like at 3 and 4 years old, and just feel the ending coming. Like, I just knew it would come, and then I understood that it was coming, and I'd finish, and everyone in my family would kind of be like, "Wait, have you heard that song before? How did you know that was the end?" I don't know. I just knew. So I started dancing to music, and that's when my parents enrolled me in dance classes. And I only took dance because I liked to move to music, really. And then it turned out I was really good at dancing. So, I got a full scholarship to go to San Francisco Ballet School when I was 14, and I never looked back. But the music was the reason why I started dancing, which is the irony of it all. So I got 2 careers out of it, really, or a few at least, just from my love of music. Yeah,
that's incredible.
It was really cool. Yeah,
that's awesome. And I've never heard of the San Francisco Ballet. Is it a big scene? Is ballet a big scene in California?
It's the biggest company in California. It's like the biggest company on the West Coast, I would say. If I was going to relive, knowing what I know now, I would still have gone to San Francisco Ballet, because when I was 14 or 13 and a half, I auditioned for a bunch of summer intensives, and I auditioned for the top 3, ballet schools in the country, which is there's American, or the School of American Ballet. American Ballet Theater is a good little summer intensive as well, but they don't really have a big school. And then San Francisco Ballet, and I got accepted to all 3. And so I had to choose which one to go to, and I ended up choosing San Francisco Ballet because it was the closest. I was 14, so I didn't want to go to New York at the time. But I'd always kind of dreamed of New York. But knowing what I know now, San Francisco Ballet has the most incredible dancers from all over the world. We get to do the most incredible repertoire of any ballet company, I think in the States. We do so many contemporary things. We do classical ballets. It's just like an incredible ballet company. And Helgi Thomason, the director, and he took a liking to me when I was really young, and I was hired as the youngest member of San Francisco Ballet, and one of the youngest in history, but I was 16. I just turned 16. And so I got into the school, and then, it was a quick turnaround. I got into the company, and that was my dream. It's amazing.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's an incredible
awesome.
story. Wow. And what would you say is, like you've always had the ear for music, and you've always had the visual for how to make the music go with the choreography for
Mm-hmm.
your dancing. Um, what would you say was your greatest struggle that you've had to overcome to, throughout um, your ballet and
Yeah.
your music career
It's
up
so
to this
interesting
point?
because each career, because the ballet's difficulties are so different than music. I would say that for my music, I decided to be Empress kind of like halfway through me deciding that music was my calling and I loved singing, and I surprised myself by even having a good voice, like by being in this silent world of ballet for most of my life and being able to play the piano. That was my music, but it was still silent, in a lot of ways. When I found my voice,
Hmm.
it was a shock to everybody, and actually I'll tell you that story in a second. But the two difficulties are they're so very different from each other, and I'll explain why. I think ballet is difficult because it's a visual art form. So like for me, I was 16, I was going through puberty when I got hired, so I gained a little weight, and I was always kind of in trouble for not fitting in with the other girls. They legally can't use we call it the F word, the word fat. They can't legally call you fat, but they do it in
Oh
so
yeah,
many other ways.
yeah.
I was always taken out of ballets, and it was really just like embarrassing and hard. It's just a really hard place to grow up. So I ended up turning to nutrition, and I became a raw foodist, to compete with all the like tiny little bones that I was competing with. So I actually went the opposite way. I went super healthy and learned how to sort of play the game in a really healthy way. I changed a lot of the rules of ballet, of not eating to eating all vegetables and as close to as nature intended it as possible. So for me, the hardest difficulty for me was like keeping up with these, anorexic and, these eating disorder bodies, and trying to be healthy in the ballet world. And then for artistically, it's difficult in the ballet because you are always doing someone else's art. You're the canvas that some artist is painting on. So you have to conform to whatever they want you to be. So that was hard as well, because you kind of lose your own identity as an artist. Sometimes you feel like you're the yeah, exactly,
The
you're like
prop,
the car that someone else is steering,
right?
kind of. And so that's difficult too, because you're always trying to be an artist in this world where you're just a canvas. Whereas in the music industry, you are the artist, you are the canvas, you are, I always use the expression, I am the car and I'm driving it and I'm paving my own path. And so that's a different kind of challenge, but it's so much easier than ballet that I always joke like everything. I did it in the right order. I went from ballet, then I went to Broadway, and then I went to music, and I'm so grateful that I did it in that order, because I went from the hardest to something that should be really difficult, but compared to what I've done, it's way easier in a way.
Oh yeah. Oh
Physically
yeah,
and
definitely. Yeah. So yeah, because ballet is very physically intensive, and like you said, you have to be
yes.
very small, fit into all the
Oh God,
the
yeah,
tiniest, tightest
totally.
clothes, and
I
or
was actually
dresses and
fired for being fat.
yeah,
When I was 21, I ended up getting fired because I didn't fit in with the other girl, and I was so devastated from that because it was my dream to fit in, and here I am. I'm in this beautiful. I'm living my dream, but I'm being taken out of all the ballets that I've dreamed of performing because my body wasn't skinny basically. And thank God I had a friend who was a raw foodist, and he took me aside and he said, "Hey Shannon, um I can't keep weight on. You should try this diet." And I was like, "I'll try anything." And it was this raw food diet. And I was so grateful for that because that really kind of transformed my body. It also transformed my mind and the way I treated my body. And I got my job back on the last day of the season. It was kind of stressful, but I got it back. And I danced for another, how many more years with the company? 6 more years with the company before I transitioned to Broadway. And my body is, at post ballet, it's healthier than ever. Um, and I'm grateful for that. You really have to take every hardship in life and just kind of turn that lemon into lemonade. And that's what I did there. But yeah, being skinny in the ballet, it's part of the territory. That's something that you kind of it's just what it is. Yeah, exactly. The art.
expected, right? Yeah. It's the nature of
Yeah,
the
it really is
the nature of
difficult,
the art
but
form. Yeah,
worth it
yeah.
if you do it the right way. And I might add that my career, I was with San Francisco Ballet for 11 years, and the dancers that I saw that were unhealthy usually only lasted about a year or two before they got injured. And then when they got injured, their bodies were so malnourished that it was really difficult for them to recover from injuries. So the average lifespan of a dancer is really a few years if you don't take care of your body. So it really is incredible what I did 11 years, that. And I know a lot of dancers who have gone longer than that when they take really, really good care of their bodies. So 20 years plus. So it's kind of amazing what you can do if you treat your body with respect. And so that's what I'm taking into my new music career, is just like, you treat your body with respect, but then a lot more comes with that. It's you treat your mind with respect. You write songs that attract beautiful things
Hmm.
into your life and others. So it's a really cool thing. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that.
Oh yeah, no, that's incredible. Yeah, because that's one thing that I think a lot of people, they kind of know about ballet, but you really put it into context for our listeners, because of how intensive it is. And like I'm always like, because I'm always thinking about the kind of the fitness aspect and
Mm,
how you have to prep and how intensive it is, nutrition wise and
yeah, totally.
the physiology you have to build
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in ballet.
Thank
Just
you.
incredible. Yeah. And yeah. And I like how you said writing songs to attract,
Yes.
like, or manifest
Always.
that
Yeah.
positivity into your life. Can you explain that a little bit more?
I was just talking about this with my husband today. I was saying, it's really important when you're writing music to always have like a positive outlook on things, because that's kind of what we attract. And what we're seeing, at least what I'm seeing in a lot of music these days, is the pointing the fingers or blaming or pointing out all the problems without a solution. It really actually doesn't. It's like, it's great for the artist to be able to vent. That's part of art. But if we really want to change the world,
Hmm.
writing positive music that inspires people to be better, not in a preachy way. You don't have to be like totally like preachy, but just inspiring music, things that make you want to be a better person, or to make you, attract bigger and better things, or dream bigger in your life, or empower you to be the best version of yourself possible. That's always my goal in my music, in my songwriting, and I've written hundreds of songs that I have yet to release, but they're all positive. They're not, I try and find a positive spin, like point out the problem, but then here's a solution. Because I think that will change culture in general. I think at least in San Francisco, we have a lot of homeless people here, and they're getting younger and younger. And what I'm seeing physically manifest is these kids who are brainwashed by music, because that music is just, it gets replayed in your mind, and it manifests so quickly. But you see these kids that think, partying, sex, drugs are what everybody's doing because they're listening to it in music. And so they start doing that, and it ruins their lives. And then they're homeless on the street, and they've got nothing going for them because they were always thinking they were, listening to this music that is totally brainwashing you. I mean, think about how much we learn from music, starting with the ABCs, when we're a kid, and everybody remembers that. There's something about music that you see, like, Alzheimer's patients listen to a song from their childhood and they can't remember the name of their children, but they can sing a song, from their childhood. Like, how incredible is that? So when you think of how powerful music is, and you're programming your mind to think a certain way, then that's how important music, and choosing the right music and the lyrics and stuff that you want to listen to and fill your head with, So anyway, no preaching on my end. I really don't want to be a preaching kind of artist, but I think it's really important to empower people to listen to positive music, because when you start taking care of your body and mind, you start, craving different things. And so I think if people start listening to positive things, they see how it manifests in their life, then they're going to want more of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you there. And I like how you pointed out that a lot of the lyrics in music is negative and is pointing out the problems without a solution, because like, I've definitely noticed that as well. The thing is, I don't think I'm aware of it. Now that you brought it up, I'm aware of it, but I don't intentionally listen to the lyrics as much as some of my friends do. Some of my friends are like, "Oh, Alex, did you hear these lyrics?" And I'm like, I listen to a song. I'm like, if it resonates with me, if it sounds good, if it's like got a good beat to it, if it's upbeat, then I listen to it. But if it's not upbeat, or if it's too slow, or if it's kind of more melancholy, then I won't listen to it. But what I have noticed though is, some music, I'm much more aware of the lyrics now. And a prime example of someone's lyrics, like, he's a great musician, but I think he's just got a lot of hardship and mental turmoil that he's still dealing with, is The Weeknd. Yeah, his latest album, for instance, great album, very dark. Great music, but if you really,
I love
dark.
The Weeknd,
it's dark.
this latest album, I'm a little bit like, okay, there's a difference between therapy and then, like, putting your problems onto the world. It's projecting more of that. And and I love artists. There's an artist that said something like, in an interview, the interviewer asked, why do you always write songs to your haters? Like, it's almost like a like a note to you. Well, I'll stop writing those songs when people stop coming at me. And I think the whole point is, people will always come at you if you're putting music out that's going to, you're attracting more of that. When you start saying that it's fine, then people are fine. You have to be the one. And that's kind of the whole point of Empress, is that you are in control of your own universe. You are the center of your world. And when you take ownership and you take care of yourself first, then you can take care of others. But until you can actually be whole and you can be healthy and sane in your own universe, the center of your own universe, then you can't really, worry about anything else. Otherwise, you're going to be attracting whatever anyone wants to project at you. So, being the ruler over your own life is really the whole premise of how I came up with Empress, and finding my identity through that was, like, so empowering that I wanted others to feel the same way. So when I call myself Empress, it's not to rule over you, Alex. It's to be the Empress of my own world. And that's, it's empowering to me. And I think if I could empower others to feel the same, then I will make a difference in the world. And that's the whole point.
Yeah. Very, very similar thinking from a musician standpoint to an entrepreneur and business owner. Our tagline or our brand is our like your name as a musician is your brand and and what you want to portray to the world.
Yeah.
And then in a business owner, it's like our tagline. Like what is our tagline that's going to empower the world? And like how are we trying to help the world through our tagline? And that's why I've been doing a lot of brainstorming, like with my brand and stuff like that, because it's still very new, but I know exactly what it is, and it's helping millennial professionals reach peak mental and physical performance, or maximizing performance in a nutshell, like mentally and physically, because what I realized was everyone needs help with the psychological aspect of things first, because that's where people kind of get tripped up, and that's where I got tripped up many times. And until I got my head right, that's when I started really maximizing my performance in the gym, outside the gym, in the office, outside the office. And it's when I discovered actually meditation.
Amazing.
I started meditation 3 years ago when I was leaving financial services, and it completely changed my life. Yeah, mindfulness as a whole, the way that I'm like thinking about things, just trying to take a step back when I'm really when you're kind of you're bombarded with thoughts.
And it
just
really
take 5 minutes of silence.
It centers you, right?
It's
That's so great.
It does. And because before, I was someone that I would say that I've always had pretty good thinking, and for the most part, but I still have times like everyone else where I was more reactive, and I'd wake up and I just felt reactive the whole day. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what am I doing wrong? I'm reading the right books. I'm listening to the right music. I'm like doing everything else right. And I'm like, something's still missing. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And it was, and I figured it out. It was mindfulness. It was just being more present, more in here and the now. Because when you're able to do that, because I'm someone that thinks very far ahead, I can think. I'm like all about mental projection, and that's great. It is a good thing to kind of visualize yourself. Okay, like how do I want to be the next 5 years, or where do I want to be, or how do I want to develop my brand, and where I want to go. But at the same time, it's good to like project yourself in the future, but also be here in the now and use that mindfulness.
I want to share a little story about that too, because my parents were way ahead of their time. I feel like so they asked us at 7 years old, I was asked to write down my dreams and goals. And it was so cute. My mom, she always said this to me, and I still have little figurines all over my bedroom of things that she gave me where she reminded me to dream big. And she'd always say, dream big, sweetheart. You can be anything you want. Your dad and I are always going to be here to support you, whatever you want to be. We're here for you. So she told us, my brother and sister and I, to write down our dreams. I was 7, and I wrote down 3 things on my list. I was very, I was that kid. I was going to be a ballerina. I was going to be a singer, and I was going to be an actress. And I knew it was going to kind of be in that order in general. I was like, all right, I'm going to be a ballerina first, because ballerinas, lifespan is a lot shorter than like a singer. I could sing forever, and an actress, you only get better with age usually. Even though Hollywood thinks that it's only when you're pretty and young or whatever. But I think actually the knowledge is everything, and character actors are like the coolest things ever. Like, look at Meryl Streep. She's like gone through so many Tilda Swintons, Anyway, so I decided that was what I was going to be. And I remember sitting on stage on the Opera House stage in San Francisco, and feeling kind of just melancholy, like, wow, I'm living this dream that I had when I was 7. I didn't know there were going to be all of these hardships when I was 7. Of course you don't know. You just think, oh my gosh, everything's perfect and beautiful at the ballet. So, I'm living this ballet dream of mine, and I'm feeling unfulfilled because I felt like I wasn't I didn't dream big enough. And so when I got to Broadway, I thought, "Oh my God, this is everything. This is so cool. I'm like at the Tony Awards. We're winning all these things. This is so fabulous." But there was still a part of me that felt like, gosh, I just feel like I didn't quite dream big enough because I didn't really know the landscape of where I was dreaming. I was like, I was dreaming about this world when I was 7, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the politics. I didn't know how you had to be skinny, and I didn't know how you did that, and all of these things that you have to go through. And I also just didn't feel like I was able to express myself fully as an artist. So with the music, I actually took 2 full years of dreaming. Like, I didn't release a song. I had 150 songs, different styles recorded because I didn't know who I was yet as an artist, and I wanted to take the time for the first time in my life where I know what the landscape looks like about it as an adult and dreaming really, really big. And I've kind of created this, huge empire in my mind. And then, when you know the target, it's way easier to hit it, right? So I figured out who I was, and now it's a
Yeah.
streamlined process, and I attract people that are in line with that, between me and that goal. I'm like, oh, this is a person, this is a person that can help me get to my target. And so dreaming to me is like, that is the biggest part of anybody's life. And I don't think we spend enough time dreaming. And I kind of learned that pretty early on. I was like, well, I'm a big dreamer. I'm also living my dream, look at me. But it wasn't really, like edited as I went. I was like, okay, when I was 7, I wrote these things down. And then when I was in my late 20s, I was like, I need to think these. That can't just be a one word thing. It has to be like, okay, what does that actually mean? What does it mean to be a ballerina? What does it mean to be on Broadway? What does it mean to be a singer songwriter? That's how, so coming up with Empress was I gave myself so much time to dream, and it takes time to dream, just does. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. No, I really like that. Because I'm kind of going through that stage right now because I thought financial services,
Nice.
I was very fascinated with stocks
Wow.
when I
You
was
were that
16.
kid. I love
Actually, it's
that.
actually
That's
earlier
great.
than that. It's kind of started. Yeah, I know, I know. I'm
Hmm.
kind of like the athletic nerd. Like I was always really into sports, but I
That's
also had this really
great.
nerdy side that was super into learning about money because
Hmm.
I was like, how can I attract money to me? How can I learn about money? Because I always like heard about, people that really struggle with money. And I said, I don't want to be that person that doesn't, that's going like coming into the world and
Yeah.
he has no understanding or concept of money because
Hmm.
it's one of those things people don't like, not everyone likes to talk about it, but it is vital for you to
Yeah,
get ahead and
totally. Yep.
money is required with everything that we do, whether we like it or not, right? And I was trying to develop that
Hmm.
positive relationship and positive mindset surrounding money because a lot of people, the only reason they repel money is because they're very negative towards it. Their mindset is like, oh, I know
Hmm.
I don't have enough, I don't have enough. Well, then you're going to get lack. But I was trying to develop that. Okay, how can I teach myself to really like,
Hmm.
okay, I
Hmm.
already have abundance and now I'm just trying to attract more abundance, right?
Oh yeah.
So I read the book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and my dad got me to read that.
Oh my God, we
And
were the same.
yeah,
My
and I was
parents
I
did
was
that
9
to
years
me
old, and I
too.
kind of
Yeah,
had
the
an
rich dad,
idea.
poor dad. Totally.
Yeah, yeah, yep. And I'm telling you, I've read it since 9 years old. I've probably read it another 5 or 6 times since, and every time I read it, I reread it,
Yep.
I just redevelop this framework in my head of like personal finance and what I have to do to
I
develop those
love it.
skills and build that abundant wealth. And I've pretty much followed it. I've
Hmm.
had a few, everyone has a few missteps along the way, but I've pretty much
Love
followed
that. That's great. Good for
almost to
you.
a T what he's done in the book.
Well, I have a
Um,
question for you about this
yeah,
because
yeah,
at
yeah,
least
and it's and
my
it, yeah.
read the book when I was 9 too. I love that we both did that. It's good parents. Um, the question I have for you is because I kind of took this. career that most of the time people think, oh, well, if you're a performing artist, you don't make money. Well, I was in the top 1%. My entire career has been like in the top 1% of just being an artist that gets a lot of money to do what I do. So I was in San Francisco Ballet at 16. So here, you're not even supposed to be making that much money at 16. And here I am, I have like a full-time job and I'm making, the most amount of money that I had ever made, obviously up until that point, from like babysitting to San Francisco Ballet, so here I am all of a sudden doing that. It became kind of ingrained in my mind and in my sort of like mental being, was that I make money. This is just what I do. And like, I came to this point where I just like expected it and I wasn't worried about it because I was always going to be able to make money doing something. Well, because first of all, ballet is the hardest thing ever. So like, I knew I always could do something else, to make money. But so for you, do you find that you focus so much on it that sometimes if it doesn't come, you feel like you're the person to blame? Or do you get to a point where you're like, oh no, I expect it to come now, and it just does? Because the very two different ways of looking at it, but it's kind of the same. Just curious.
Yes. Yeah. No, because of my knowledge started so early, I feel very responsible when I have financial mishaps, for sure. I definitely feel a lot more like there's a lot more at stake because I know more. But again, just because we know more, that's not always a good thing either. Sometimes it's actually better to know a little bit less because you're still going through the movements and the practice, just like you do in ballet, just like you do in the gym, right? And that's one thing that Warren Buffett always said, and I always read in him and Bill Gates and how they invest and stuff like that, and they always said that, and it's like sometimes knowing too much is disabling and it paralyzes you because you're like all these things, and it's your fear that's causing you to not take the action like you normally would. But that's kind of where my thought process is like right now, because I just read so many personal finance books. I was just trying to devour the information because I really wanted to build that knowledge. And the second that I got into the bank, I got in the bank. I think I was one of the youngest.
That's amazing, Alex.
Yeah, financial service reps in the bank. I was 20, just 20. I was turning. And it was really cool. But I definitely feel like the books, it kind of like, it's like you said, you're just doing ballet from yay high for so long, and then when you were, when you did get those big opportunities, you were prepared because that's what you were preparing your whole life for, and that's pretty much what I was doing. But what ended up happening was, like you said, I got into the politics of financial services. I got really deep. I'm like, okay, I want to do this for life. And then I got really into it, and then later on down the road, I spent 4 years, and I had a great time. I learned a lot, but I later on down the road felt unfulfilled because it was too restrictive on my personality. Because I'm actually very creative too. And with financial services, you can be creative, but like you said about the ballet, it's someone else's canvas that they're painting, and you're just a prop in that canvas. And that's what was happening with myself, was I didn't feel fulfilled because I was succumbing to someone else's success, and I didn't feel like I was developing my own. And I've always been very independent, and I've always been like, if I feel like someone's trying to, or like if I feel like that I can't make my own success a priority, and I feel like I'm just making someone else very successful and I'm not getting any fulfillment, then I have to find something else that's more
totally
in tune with
so cool.
my
I'm so like
my personality.
so bravo to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, and like yourself, I've been kind of soul searching for these creative endeavors the last few years, and kind of the way that my personality has evolved a little bit. My creative side was I experimented with social media. I want to kind of learn social media a little bit,
brands,
because I know I kept hearing people that have been building I know it's careers, like building their brands through social media, and I was just fascinated by it. And
nice.
Yeah, and then it all started with YouTube. And then I dabbled with that for a little bit. I had one video that went viral. It got 788 views. It was for how I bought a condo at 23, because that was trending during that time. Yeah, so I did that and then transitioned to building my blog. That's like the most recent thing that I've been working on, and then the podcast. So it's been kind of like the evolution of my brand has kind of been over the last, I'd say, yeah, 3-4 years. And it's just, yeah, and my latest
Cool.
fascination is I really want to build my online persona and my brand. And with everything like you've done, right? With, ballet to music to
Yeah.
Broadway, like that's, I've done something similar just in a different way. Um, and that's what it's all about. It's all about like rediscovering that passion. Like, what is your why? What is that something that really makes you click and
So
really
cool.
sets your
Yeah.
soul on fire? And that's what I've been really
That's
learning
awesome.
about,
Yeah. Good for you,
learning
Alex. That's so great.
taking that time to redream
Very
again.
cool. Bravo. As we say in the
Yeah.
ballet. Bravo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. And then another thing I want to ask you is, what is something unique that people might not know about you? I know you've delved into a lot of details and about
Let's
your ear
see.
for
What would be
music.
something unique? I guess
And then,
something that I
yeah.
just discovered about myself in the past a couple, I guess few weeks with the quarantine, the self isolation is actually I'm orchestrating a symphony right now, and it is the most fun project ever. But what I'm working on right now is just like a plain old classical symphony. And when I say plain old, it does not mean plain at all, but it's really beautiful, and it's becoming like a new passion of mine because it's super time consuming. Like I've never had this much time at home to just play around with writing a symphony, but and orchestrating it and doing all of that fun stuff. But yeah, the newest and latest thing is actually there's this like classical side, I guess, from all the years of listening to classical music on stage at the ballet is rubbed off. And so here I am, um, writing a symphony during our 2020, quarantine for the
Wow, that's
coronavirus. But
incredible.
so that's like a new thing. So I don't just do pop music anymore. I'm now, also a composer. Just been fun. Yeah.
Wow,
Hmm.
that's awesome. Yeah, you know what they actually say too? I find classical music remarkable because anytime I need something to like because I like listening to music while I'm in intensive study or writing something on my blog or researching. I need something to, there's some sort
Yeah.
of mundane tasks that aren't as fun when you're doing your online stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Some certain posting and stuff like that. So you need something to help you get that done. And I find classical and lo-fi beats have been very
Totally.
helpful when
Oh,
I'm
for
kind of
me,
doing
it's so
redundant,
interesting because
mundane
I can't
tasks that
really
need to be
focus if
done,
there's too
but you're
many
just trying to get,
melodies because I
yeah,
I start focusing on that. If there's lyrics, I listen to the lyrics. If there's, so I really do need some like chill music. So I've been writing some pretty chill, it's almost like
yeah,
soundtrack of your life kind of music. Um, and it's been so fun. I'm really excited, and I'll probably release it just because it's a different side of me that you know, I'll release it under my Empress, brand because it's kind of cool to have. It doesn't necessarily confuse my pop music at all because people will not get those two confused. But I think it'll be an added layer to my when we start performing again. I might be able to use it in my live performances, which would be really cool, maybe to dance to or whatever it is. But yeah, when I listen to music to get work done, I can't really listen to like you know, too beautiful of music. Otherwise, I get lost in the music. It's so funny. My head just starts going to the music.
oh yeah, because you
Yeah,
start like you're saying, you start
totally.
creating that
Yeah,
visual in
that's
your head
exactly right.
about the song and like the environment surrounding the song,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
It's
and the
funny that you
artist and
say
where
the
the artist
visual too, because
is,
when I
and
write
yeah, it's
music
incredible what
and
like
I
the
have
effect
a
that music has on
songwriting
us, right?
partner that I write with sometimes in New York, and she and I will be writing something, and I usually have to see it before we can write about it. So it's interesting. It's I either make up a story in my head of what we're writing about, or I draw from something that really happened but I have to be able to see it, and I usually see like a full-on music video in my head. So I have a lot of those, that will probably never actually become music videos, but at least I see them when I'm, writing it and singing it, and it helps me remember the lyrics and melodies and stuff by just seeing it in my head. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely incredible like how it works with music that way. Like I've never had that like super intuitive sense with like I can
Yeah.
like, I'm really listening to the lyrics in depth and creating that visual. I'm more just all visual rather than listening to the lyrics, but I'm trying to get better at like really understanding the lyrics, because that's where me and my friend are different. He's like, we're listening to it, or he tells me about
No.
a song, I listen to it, and then he's like, all
Yeah,
he's talking about is like,
totally.
oh, did you hear those lyrics? And I'm like, I didn't hear the lyrics, I just heard the song. Yeah, so
And you know
yeah,
what
so
though?
I'm
That's
definitely
that's
still
art for
learning,
you. Everybody
because
has
yeah,
their
everyone's
own,
just so different with how they
palette, and
listen
it
to music.
develops over time. And it's like, my mom was never a ballerina, or well, she didn't really dance at all, but
Yeah,
she had a good eye, or she knew what she thought was good, and it usually was pretty good actually. But like everybody has their own taste in things, so that's art. People get to see what they see and get to hear what they hear, and that's actually their version of the piece of art that the artist created, and everybody takes something different from it. So cool. That's the beauty of art and creating things, is that you might hear
yeah,
the beat the whole time and somebody hears the melody, and that's cool. That's awesome.
yeah, and I think what I've realized over these
That's
last
cool.
few
Yeah,
years is I
same.
think I just get tremendous satisfaction of creating something daily,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's a piece of writing on my blog, a YouTube video, a podcast episode. I just get so hyped up for
I mean, and
creating
that's
something
the
that I'm like, oh,
beauty
I just
of
created that that piece of content out of
finding
just
that
my
space
thoughts.
in
And
you is not, it's like it's the perfect way for you to be human and like actually be helping the world and creating more. We're supposed to create is what I'm trying to say. I guess humans are supposed to create, and when we're not creating, you feel kind of stagnant, and
yeah,
that's just
yeah,
normal. That's like a normal feeling that I think, a lot of people feel. I'm not alone. I don't
yeah,
think you're alone in that, but I think it's so cool when you realize like you really are the ruler over your own life, and when you take that ownership, you build bigger empires for yourself to live in. You if you can take care of yourself, you will build a better world for others, because that's just what we do. We're meant to create, and everybody is creative, whether they just appreciate creativity from others or they actually participate. Yeah, yeah. I've
I
never
like
said
that.
that before, but I
Appreciate
like it too.
creativity and participate.
I
That's a good one.
guess,
Yeah.
let's see.
Um.
You know what?
And who is your
There's
biggest
been a
inspiration
few people that have been like huge
for your career,
inspirations to
or
me
does
in
anyone come to mind?
my ballet career, and then also like on Broadway there were people that I looked up to. With my music, I have to be honest, I've tried to stay as like not closed off to others. I appreciate people, but I'm trying to really become my own thing. So I try not to just like be someone else, or like be um too much like somebody else either. So I appreciate everybody's art. I love listening to other people's stuff, but for now, like even with my symphony writing and stuff, there's so many great composers out there. I'm trying not to listen to them right now because I just want to be myself, and I'm finding my own voice for the first time as an artist, and I think that is kind of unique. So I don't want to say I am. I kind of right now I'm appreciating the fact that I am my own inspiration, and that I kind of draw from things that I've heard, and I know, there's probably going to be bits and pieces of all the people that I've listened to or seen in my past. But I think for right now, I'm trying to find my own voice. So that's what's happening for me as an artist right now. It'll change tomorrow, I'm sure, but. as of right now.
I like that. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, no, for sure, yeah. But I can really relate to that. Like,
Love
I
that.
still have
Oh,
always
yeah.
done my own thing, but
Well, I think
I always like
that's
to get
perfect way
tidbits
of
and
saying it too, is that
golden
you
nuggets
want
from
to have
everyone that I
people around
encounter
you that
because
are worth listening to. And so
yeah,
I only really try to surround myself with people that are going to lift me up and make me a better version of myself. But I think for right now, I'm not going to say like my mom or Beyonce or, you know, something outside of me. I'm really just trying to appreciate my own voice for the first time as an artist, really, because up until this point, it was, in the ballet, you do someone else's role. You're literally even wearing their costume. So it's, you're always trying to recreate some magic that happened, from someone else. And so you're always trying to, and there's a right and a wrong. And now with my music, I'm creating all of that, and I'm creating like
yeah,
who I am. And I think the beauty of artists is when they find who they are and they draw from their own inspiration, which is like bits and pieces and particles of all the things that they've experienced throughout their life. So everyone is going to be a part of my inspiration, but I think I'm just trying to find that on my own right now. Thanks. I wasn't sure if that was going to make sense or not, so thank you for
no, no, it's
or
very, very
for
well said.
giving me a nod.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, no.
I
And I was
wish.
double
No, I
checking
barely
kind of your
speak any
social media
French,
and
just
stuff.
enough to
And
order
do you
food and
speak any
maybe
other
get home in
languages?
a taxi. And
Like
then
fluently? Yeah.
and then
Huh?
Spanish. I should learn how to speak more Spanish. I took Spanish as a kid and
Oh,
French, but
okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
do not speak fluently, and I'd be embarrassed to say that I even speak it at all, really. But I understand it more than anything. And I am fluent in body language. I'm really good at that. So yeah, unfortunately not.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yes.
tell us a little bit about Stardust World. That's like this is like your own
Yes.
entertainment company, but it's coupled with basically all of your breadth of experience,
Yeah.
and you're
So
helping other
I
musicians,
started
women specifically,
basically a
with
record
building
label for
their
myself
getting into
when
music.
I really became Empress, and I
Ah,
really like embodied that and got it like, I have a registered trademark and all of that fun stuff. So it's like it's mine. Like I am Empress. This is so exciting. The That kind of turned into, well, if I'm going to go to a record label, I'm not going to have the creative control that I have if I'm an independent artist, but I still want to have, an umbrella to call myself like I'm part of a record label. And so when I started looking into that, I realized there's a real lack of females supporting females in general in the performing arts. And that starts, at a very young age, where there's only one Juliet and then there's 40 girls that all want to play Juliet in Romeo and Juliet, and there's just one girl that's going to get it. All 39 other girls are going to just be bummed out that they didn't get it and kind of secretly hate that Juliet that gets to play it, even though we all pretend to be really excited for her. It's always like that, no matter which way you slice it. It's just really hard for women to support women because we're not put in situations where we're able to really fully support them. So I want to change that, because I think that right now the hot topic is women empowerment, and I find that the thing that men do so well is they support each other for a lot of things. I mean, stuff that happens and in everything under the sun. But in general, there's a lot of men's clubs and things where people, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type
oh
thing.
yeah,
And they tend to say, oh, well, if you're looking for a good attorney, I've got a guy for that, and they kind of connect each other with that. So in the women realm, if we want empowerment, we really have to learn how to support each other. And I've always been a huge supporter of women. I was homeschooled, so I didn't really grow up with all the peer pressure of trying to be prettier than someone else or better than someone else. And I was naive in a lot of ways when I first joined the company in San Francisco Ballet, because I was just like, everyone's biggest fan all the time, and I don't think people really understood that it was totally genuine. And so I've always been a big advocate for supporting women, and I realized that the 99% of the female founded record labels out there have mostly or all males on their roster. And I was so bummed about that. So I was like, not that we're just going to be only females, like we want to be all inclusive, but I need a place where females feel safe. They feel supported. They're surrounded by great people that they can be creative with, and be themselves. I need, like, these are just the things that I need personally. And I figured, like, well, I can't be alone in that. And I thought, how cool would it be to start a record label that supports women? It's a women founded, or female founded record label that supports women. And it's ironically, it's kind of rare. I didn't do it because of that, but I just thought, wow, there's a need for this out there. And so I started Stardust World Productions because of that, and also because I wanted a place to empower myself to be an artist and have all the say in my career, so and really have the freedom and control as an artist. So that's why I did that, and it's been successful so far. It's been kind of fun to just navigate through. I'm learning as I go, really, but nobody needs to know that, right? Kidding. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and if you're not learning, then what are you doing?
Oh yeah, no. Exactly. Everyone's learning as they go, I think. Yeah. Even then you're not growing. Then you're stagnant. Yeah, exactly. But I've never heard you really said that really well, like about how there's never really been a women helping women, like in creative arts, or that want to become actresses or act or
their words,
musicians.
It's a lot of women out there saying, "Oh, I want to support women," but they're the last ones to hire a female. They're the last ones to give them their first opportunity. They're not the, it's really all about the action. So I'm saying I'm a female supporting female record label, and I'm actually walking the walk, and I'm starting with myself because, like Empress is with Stardust World Productions now, and it's like I'm kind of paving a path maybe to like create a formula to and we're calling it like the quote unquote Stardust formula, so that we can help other women and have a team of people ready to help females navigate through this industry. And it's mostly male dominated right now, but I think that'll change if I think that'll change if women start supporting women more often. So, and I think that's going to happen really quickly once it catches on and people feel like, wow, oh my God, this works. Then, and a lot of times too, and this is in every industry, is people just have to see it work once and then they get it. So totally, and open that door. Yeah, totally.
All it takes is one person to pave the way, and then everyone else follows suit, right? It's remarkable. Look, like how it works. Like change is slow at first, but all it takes is one person to see the possibility of that change before it happens. And then
4-minute mile, all of a sudden, so things just they change really rapidly once the ball gets rolling. So I'm happy to be doing that, and I think it'll be a really great thing for women.
No, for sure.
And men, and because here's the thing. So I want to empower women, but it's so fascinating to me that women don't understand how powerful they are with the empowering thing, because it doesn't come from the opposite sex. Empowerment comes from within. And I really find that when unfortunately, when a woman is treating or bullying even a small boy, that small boy grows up to be, the emperor of their own life and their own empire, and they have a chip on their shoulder against women. And so you wonder why there isn't, there's like Harvey Weinsteins out there that have probably had a bad experience at a young age with their mother or with some teacher or something, and they just grow up with this anger towards women. And it's really up to us. It's ironic, but if we bully little boys, then they're going to grow up and have an anger towards women. So it's actually all the empowering thing is all about raising up young boys to respect and love women, because that's all they know, because that's all we give to them. And we encourage them to be the best version of themselves and to support them along the way, no matter what that is and what that means. And love them unconditionally. They'll do it right back to us, and then they'll support us in the next generation of men, will be better. So it's really all up to women. If we want empowerment, that's really what it comes down to, in my 2 cents.
No, that's really well said, and I don't think anyone said it quite like that. Because, like you said, women previously and still currently, they always feel they need to feel empowered by getting the reassurance by men or by their partner, but that doesn't have to be the case. Like you said, you need to develop that empowerment
and
feeling
from
within.
Yeah,
first,
and I totally agree with
and
that.
then if you still need additional reassurance, your man or your partner will be here for you, or they should be here for you.
I think
if you need that,
women need to also use their strengths, and they're different than men. So like our strengths are not going to be fighting, because we're never gonna, not never. Women are strong in different ways, is what I'm saying. Is that the fighting and doing what men do best, which is fighting. It's never, they've had thousands of years more experience than we have. We are race from like a handicap position, we're miles behind in thousands of years, and so really what it comes down to is our strengths are mothering, forgiving, loving, being kind, being creative, being, there's so many cool things that are our superpowers as women that we need to utilize in order to have equality. Our equality is not going to be, equal to a man. It's going to be different. We're just different. Humans are built differently. Our strengths are different. And that's okay. I think just understanding that our superpowers are going to be different than men. And we will have equality if we understand that we don't have to turn into a man to be equal to a man.
Yeah, and I think that's where people are, they're not understanding is it's the female and male psychology is radically different. And as a female, you have to play to your strengths, and as a male, you have to play to your strengths. And it's not about who's like the dominating sex. Like, and I get that there's a lot of a lot of males that are out there that are like that they have their chip on their shoulder and they're misogynists and stuff like that. But it's more, you have to develop the understanding of each other. Like, how does a female think, or how does a male think? Like, what is their underlying why? And once people really kind of, it's just lack of understanding for the most part. People just chest puffing, men chest puffing, and when we get upset when men are doing that kind of stuff, because men do that quite a bit sometimes. But it's just developing that wanting to understand and developing that understanding for how the opposite sex thinks. And it's critical, because by developing that understanding and teaching like young boys and girls, like, oh, like, you're more creative, this is your strength, then let's steer you in this direction. And there's other cultures that have been doing that for a long time, and they're way far ahead of North America, like Europe and stuff. Like, they will, if they see that you've got, like, what, let's say they're trying to find the next talent of athletes. Let's say, they find kids that are like got really long limbs. It could be good swimmers or good basketball players potentially in the future, right? So they're already finding talent very early on, because they know what to look for. I feel like in our culture, in North American culture, we don't always know what to look for. We think we do, but we don't. It's like you need to develop those scouting skills. Like,
exactly. And
like,
it's
oh,
really,
this
it's
is what
funny that you mentioned that,
oh
because
my
I
god,
always
like this is
say,
what my daughter's really good at,
in the
or oh my
ballet
god,
world,
this is what my son's really good at.
every
We
other
have to
country's
see that out.
been doing it for a lot longer. France invented ballet, so they like to shove that in our face all the time. But what they do, which is so fascinating to me, is that they do what you were talking about, is they inspect and they like go through all of these auditions,
Yeah.
these children, these young kids, just to see if they're going to be, they're going to have the right body type. Not that they're going to be good at ballet or like have what it takes mentally and emotionally to get through the career, because it's exhausting. And it was literally named, by the way, in the US, the most difficult physical profession in the country this year, 2020, was dance. And like, just to put it in perspective, like firemen are like number 4. It's like, it's seriously, wow. It's the most physically demanding thing. They also pointed out that a lot of dancers will teach physical exercise classes, whatever that means. It could be anything from samba to, weight training or whatever. But they do that on the side, and that actually, like, exercise and fitness instructors was number 5 on the list of, top physical things. So what they're saying is dancers are just crazy, and we're always the underdogs, as far as no one really appreciates that, because we make it look easy on top of it all. So it's a crazy thing. But with that being said, it is the most physically demanding sport in the country, acknowledged by the government now. And and not everybody is built to do it. And I think what France does really well, Russia, China, they actually eliminate the ability for people to be like injured. They're like, no, you do not have the body type for this. You will blow your knees out because you don't have the right turnout. You're going to have hip surgery at 24 because you're going to be lifting your leg up and it's not naturally going to go there. So you're going to force it and you're probably going to break your hip by the age of whatever, 24. They will tell you your hamstrings aren't long enough, your calf, doesn't, or your calf muscles are too tight or whatever. You don't have the right feet, or your head's not small enough, or whatever it is, like your arms aren't long enough, or whatever it is. But they will eliminate that. But the beauty of being an American dancer is that we choose to dance rather than a government telling us, like, yes, or a school telling us, yes, you're free to train here because you have the right body type. But when we score to get into a ballet company, like when I got into a ballet company, it was because I loved to dance and I just happened to have the right body type, knock on wood, even though I was a little bit bigger than some of the other girls. I had the right turnout and the feet, and my neck was long enough, and my arms were super long, and my legs were super long, like I had a short torso. I had all the right things that checked off the box. But that was just like winning the lottery. I mean, like, what are the odds? All the girls in my class, went through puberty and everything changed, and I just somehow scored. And so you feel like you win the lottery when you become a ballerina in America, because you decided that you wanted to dance. It was your choice. And then you win the lottery with the right body type. And you're like, what? This is awesome. But in other countries, they don't even allow people to train because they're like, you're never going to make it, which I can't argue with being a bad thing. I mean, that actually might not be a bad thing. It is a really tough profession. So eliminating a lot of pain and physical pain and emotional pain might actually be, is it good or is it bad? I don't know. It's like
I mean, and that's the thing where the North American culture is a little bit different. Is like you have much more choice in the matter. But Europe, they're very stern, and they're like, well, Alex, you don't have the limbs to play basketball. You're too short, and you're not fast enough. You're not strong enough. And as hard as it would be to hear that, I definitely prefer that constructive criticism, because I want to perform at the best level I can. And if someone's telling me, Alex, I can tell, like, and they've got like 30 years experience of analyzing talent in sports,
right?
And they said, you're actually not suited for basketball, but you're suited for soccer or something like that. because they're like, you can go long distances, but in basketball, it's more like short sprints. If they told me that, I definitely
it's very. I wonder.
Take on that
I
other
wonder. I
sport.
feel like you and I definitely
as
would
crushed
want
as
that
crushed as you would
feedback. But
be,
there's
right?
a lot of businesses out there that would probably not happen if all the kids that weren't going to make it didn't take. Yeah. So we could be hurting a lot of businesses
Can
in
take
America,
the initiative.
So
No, I totally
they don't
hear
really
it. Yeah,
think about that in Europe because
it would change
it's
the
funded by
game.
the government. But it's very different.
Yeah.
Well,
it's everyone for themselves, and especially in America,
I
right?
Definitely love
if you want to do something, you got to do it yourself.
And that's one of the things that I thought of when I was thinking of Empress. Is like, well, if I'm not going to do it, nobody else is going to do it for me. I'm the only one that can do this. So taking that ownership and ruling your own empire is really what it's all about. And individually, Yeah, totally.
Yeah, creating that space.
Exactly. And that's everybody's version of succeeding is going to be slightly different. But I think it's all about dreaming big continuously. Like always go back and edit those dreams. You kind of refine them and clarify so that when you're going towards that target, it gets more and more clear as you get closer, Yeah.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Would that be like your statement if you were to put any statement?
Yeah, I think so. Dream big continuously.
Would that be your statement?
I think that's it. Refine those big dreams and stuff. It's just it's all about asking yourself, am I dreaming big enough? I think that would be more of the statement that I'd want to send out to the world. Am I dreaming big enough? Are you dreaming big enough? That's a great question that everybody should ask themselves, I think, every day. Am I dreaming big enough? Because you can make your dreams happen. Dreams happen. I am telling you right now, I grew up in a small town where there is no dance. I grew up in a non-dancer family, and nobody plays, really instruments or sings. Nobody's in the performing arts at all. I mean, it's just, there is no reason for me to succeed in the ballet world at such a young age, Broadway, or being a musician and start their own record label without dreaming. That's the only reason why I'm here. Is I manifest my dreams and I expect them to manifest. And when they manifest, I ask myself, was this big enough? And then, if it's not, then I just dream bigger. And it's not like a good, bad thing. It's just, all right, learn from that, dream bigger next time. It's but if you're very specific with your dreams, I feel like, they happen. It's a snapshot in the universe. When your vibrational frequency matches snapshot, then it comes to life. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Thanks.
Love it. Yeah, very well said. But I appreciate you joining us on the podcast today, Empress. Got a lot of awesome,
so much, Alex.
A lot of awesome tidbits and golden nuggets. Oh, this is very good. Very good. Yeah. And I love people sharing their story with me.
It was so interesting to learn about you too, Alex. It was really cool.
And kind of your journey along the way. Yeah.
I'd love that.
Yeah. And really look forward to having you on again in the future.
Too. Okay.
Yeah, awesome. Right on. You take care. I hope you all enjoyed this special guest series episode brought to you by RadioGuestList.com. Again, this is your host, Alex Muir. And if you'd like to learn more about kind of what I do and this podcast, MindCep Podcast, you can check me out on my social media. I always post all my links of my social media in every episode that I post. And I share all my posts, my podcast posts on my LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So you'll be able to check out the podcast links on there. So if you want to connect with me, get to know me, I will be answering messages on there. If you have any questions. And again, if you want to hear more episodes like these, or if you have any feedback, please let me know on social media. you can send me a message, or you can, feel free to follow my podcast, and be sure to, keep checking in and see what I'm up to. I really appreciate everyone that listens to my podcast, and hope you guys all enjoyed, and see y'all next time. Take care.